Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Southern Gal True Crime. If this is your first time here, thank you so much for choosing to watch this video out of the millions of videos that are out there. And in this video today, I wanted to talk to you and share with you the case, the missing persons case of Brenda Gail Lambert. So Brenda has been missing for over 33 years. She has been missing from West Virginia. She was 22 years old when she disappeared. And her case is just one that I've had on my list to do a video about for a while now. And I'm finally trying to get caught up on all these videos. So let me get started. Let me get everything set here. So first of all, I'm just going to give you a little background on Brenda, her early life. She was born on December 26, 1969 in Williamson, West Virginia. She comes from a large family. There were 7 children. She was described as a free spirit. She had a big heart. She had an outgoing spirit. She was a tomboy. She was very playful and mischievous, and she had a penchant for exploration. So I can relate to Brenda in that way because I'm a farm girl. I'm a country girl, a little bit of a tomboy growing up. And we, out here on the farm, we just had lots and lots of places to explore. And I just enjoyed it so much. So I can relate to that part of Brenda. Brenda was a smart girl, but she did not have an interest in school, which part of that also relates to me. I'm not too book smart. I do have a common sense, like to think that I have common sense. Did not like school. The only part I liked about school was interacting, being able to socialize with my friends. But anyway, Brenda was allowed to drop out at the age of 15, and this was on the recommendation of her principal. Now, things were different back then. I'd never heard really a principal actually recommending anybody, especially somebody as young as 15, to drop out of school. But at any rate, in 1986, Brenda married Raymond Lambert. And Raymond was a co-worker of Brenda's brother, Tim. So Tim and Raymond were employed by the local chicken factory. And while Brenda was a devoted stay-at-home wife and mother to their 2 children, Krista and Raymond Jr., Brenda unfortunately did suffer regular abuse at the hands of Raymond. And her family reported seeing on numerous occasions rings around her neck from being strangled and frequent black eyes. So on July 8th of 1992, Brenda had filed a DV complaint against Raymond with the Mercer County Sheriff's Office. She ended up dropping it 2 days later, but there were signs that their marriage was nearing an end. She had scheduled an appointment with a divorce lawyer on July 30th. Raymond had already moved out of the house, and he was living with his parents at their 200-acre mountain property. So we'll move on to the disappearance of Brenda. So on July 26, 1992, Brenda had a birthday party for their infant son at her Bluefield, West Virginia home. Family and friends were invited, including Raymond. Raymond brought the cake. And according to attendees of this party, there was noticeable tension between Brenda and Raymond. And it's speculated that the cause of this friction and tension between Brenda and Raymond was the presence of Brenda's cousin, Tammy, who was having an affair with Raymond. So absolutely, that would, in my opinion, definitely cause tension between Brenda and Raymond. So Raymond apparently left the party with the children around 8 p.m., despite Brenda wanting Krista and Raymond Jr. to stay with her. And by 9 p.m., the last of the guests had left the party at the Windmill Hill Road property. So now the following a series of events are based on witness statements, including Raymond's. According to one of Brenda's sisters, Raymond stopped by her house the next day to say that Brenda had been missing since around midnight. But that is despite the fact that Brenda's personal belongings and her car had been left at the residence. He claimed to have called their mother, who had promised to call Brenda. It is unknown if that call was actually made. Upon speaking with Raymond, two of Brenda's sisters drove to her home just to check on Brenda to see if everything was okay. And they too noticed that her car was in the driveway and the front door was locked, but they were eventually able to enter the residence. They found just signs of the party from the previous afternoon, but no signs of Brenda, unfortunately. And so there's little, depending on what sources, and I don't know what sources they're citing, either Brenda's family or Raymond were the ones to actually report Brenda to the authorities. So there's a little bit of conflict there, whether it was Brenda's family or Raymond who actually reported Brenda missing. So now we're going to fast forward to January 14th, 1993, when another individual disappeared from the same area. Mark Anthony Cook was last seen walking towards US Route 52 after leaving Pedro's Bar at the Airport Square Shopping Center around 3 a.m. So Mark was reported missing by his mother's boyfriend 4 days later. And so they just bring this up because it is reported that Mark and Brenda knew each other. Now, once again, I've read conflicting stories about this. Some people, some sources say that Brenda and Mark were in some type of relationship, boyfriend, girlfriend, maybe dating. But then I've read that Brenda's family says that they just kind of barely knew each other. They were just kind of acquaintances. So once again, there's a little bit of discrepancy on what kind of relationship that Mark and Brenda had. And we will later on in the video revisit Mark's case also. So investigators, despite what kind of relationship Brenda and Mark may have had, investigators do believe that the two cases could be connected, and obviously foul play are suspected in both cases. So obviously Raymond, Brenda's husband, was immediately considered a person of interest in Brenda's disappearance. Once again, this is not uncommon. Whenever somebody goes missing, the ones closest to the missing individual are investigated first. If they are cleared, then they move out and start investigating acquaintances, friends, and strangers. So they just move out in a big circle. So when spoken to by investigators, Raymond claimed that Brenda had run away with just a man named Mike. He didn't give any last name, no other explanation, just that Brenda had run away with this man named Mike. She had abandoned he and the children. And when they were asking Raymond if he had any involvement in Brenda's disappearance, of course, he denied anything to do with her disappearance. Brenda's aunt Bonnie Patterson was interviewed, and she recalled an interaction that she had with Krista, who was Brenda and Raymond's daughter. So Krista had said that Raymond and her grandfather had been, quote, on and off the mountain around the time that Brenda went missing. So apparently Raymond's family, the Lambert family, had owned a sawmill property. And when asked by investigators if they could search it, Raymond kind of dodged the question. Apparently, in my opinion, allegedly, maybe he did not want them to search it. Don't know if it's because he thought that they might find something. That's just pure speculation on my part. So we'll go back to Tammy. If you remember, Tammy was Brenda's cousin who was having an affair with Raymond. So Tammy told investigators that she had heard from Raymond's sister that Raymond and Raymond's father had been at the sawmill the night that Brenda went missing. Within a week of Brenda's disappearance, Tammy had moved in with Raymond, and the two eventually married. I don't know how long after Brenda's disappearance that they actually got married, but just within a week of her disappearance, Tammy and Raymond had already moved in together. So make of that what you will. So apparently Tammy believed for a while that Raymond was innocent, but he soon, unfortunately, became abusive towards Tammy. So this, paired with Brenda's absence at major events, family events, and events with their children, has since led Tammy to question Raymond's version of events. Brenda's home was searched. Everything appeared to be okay. It was noted that the bedroom was a mess. There was a suitcase that had been packed, and that was believed to be related to the pending divorce. So we mentioned earlier, Brenda had filed for divorce. So they think the suitcase is just she was packing stuff up for she and the children to leave the house. Polygraph tests were conducted early on in the investigation, with one unnamed male suspect apparently failed the test when it was administered to him. As far as I can find, this male has never been publicly named. So a number of potential sightings of Brenda were reported soon after she went missing, with the most promising coming from a pawn shop in Princeton, West Virginia, and a grocery store in Bluefield. Unfortunately, none of these were proven to be Brenda. Then in 2003, a tip came in which stated that Brenda and Mark, so remember Mark was the one who went missing in January, I believe, of 1993. Assume, like I said, some say that the Brenda and Mark had a relationship. Our family says no, they barely knew each other. But at any rate, this tip came in that said that Brenda and Mark's bodies may have been found in a pond off of US Route 52. And I believe that is the route that Mark, as I said, Mark had taken after he left this Pedro's bar, and he was walking along this route. And this was about a half a mile south of the Airport Square Shopping Center, which is where Mark disappeared from. Significant efforts were undertaken to confirm if their remains were there, including they attempted to drain the pond. They used a diver and underwater radar and video equipment, but nothing was found. Brenda was legally declared deceased in 2022, and her sister Christy has publicly stated that she believes that Brenda was the victim of a homicide and that her body was hidden on a property near Mercer County. Now, I don't know if this property that Christy is referring to may be the Lambert's property, the sawmill property. I don't know. The Aware Foundation did become involved in the search for Brenda in 2023. They erected a billboard about Brenda's case along US Route 52. So now it is 2025. So it is a little bit over 33 years that Brenda's been missing. The family still has no answers, unfortunately. And they are now coming forward once again to raise awareness about Brenda's disappearance and to raise awareness for DV victims everywhere. So Brenda's sister, Christy Kennedy, has spent the past 33 years trying to raise awareness for her sister's case and to provide support for anyone else going through the same thing. She did partner with the Aware Foundation. The family held an event on Saturday, July 26th of this year, 2025, to speak out once more in Brenda's honor. Christy says, quote, "That's what I hope to do because I don't want anyone else to go through what our family has went through for so long, because it is devastating and there is no end. It's not like a regular death where you lose somebody, you bury them and you move on. You're just stuck," she says. She says psychologists have even called it ambiguous loss or frozen grief because you don't move on. You're just stuck and there's no closure. So Basically, what they're saying is when you have a missing person that you presume is deceased, most likely deceased, you still don't have that closure because you don't, and you don't have their body. You can't give them a proper burial, lay them to rest, and it's just you're stuck in limbo. So I can't imagine what these families, what Brenda's family, what any family of any missing person who has not found their loved one, I just cannot imagine what they go through. So in 2019, the West Virginia Missing Persons Act became a law. So this law was designed to make sure that a missing person's information was entered into the National Missing and Unidentified Persons System database, or NamUs, and to advocate for stronger police to family communication during an investigation. And unfortunately, in a lot of cases like this that I cover and that victims advocates, creators cover, is there's this, a lot of times, not all the time, and I'm not by any means downing law enforcement, but a lot of times there is just this lack of communication between law enforcement and family. And yes, we understand that there are things that law enforcement will keep close to the chest, will not release publicly to protect the integrity of the investigation. So it's a kind of a catch-22 situation, but in my opinion, there does need to be a little bit more communication between family and law enforcement. So there's also a new piece of legislation that was in the works to protect the property of missing persons so they don't lose their possessions while missing, among other things. The bill was brought forth by another family in West Virginia who did lose their loved one, Melanie Matheny, in 2006, and it is a bill that Christy, Brenda's sister, supports. So Christy says, quote, "We don't know enough about missing persons as it is. And back 30 years ago, we were all just shell-shocked, and that goes for law enforcement too. There wasn't a lot of training, and there was not a lot of funding." Excuse me. So Christy also gave words of advice to other families who are suffering the same circumstances that Brenda's family is suffering. Christy says the best thing that they can do is to never give up. Get out there, be vocal about your person. It takes a lot just to get Brenda. She says it's taken a lot for us to just get Brenda to where she is now. As far as, I'm assuming she's meaning as far as awareness about Brenda's case, moving the case forward, anything that can be done to find out what happened to Brenda. Christy, so ultimately, Christy just simply wants to keep fighting to bring Brenda home. And that's all. I've talked to a lot of family members of missing loved ones, some who their loved ones have not been found, some who their loved ones have been found, unfortunately deceased. And that's all they want. They just want to keep fighting, to keep their loved one's story out there so that they are never forgotten. Try to find out. Ultimately, the ultimate goal is try to find the person. Best case scenario, alive and well. Worst case scenario, at least find their remains. Once again, bring them home to give them a proper burial. Try to find out what happened to them. That's all they want, is just to keep fighting and to try to find some measure of closure. So Christy says, Brenda's case is rooted in DV. What I'd want the most is for the information to be delivered to us about the whereabouts of her remains. That way we can find her and end this decades-long search. So it's just so heartbreaking every time I bring you these cases and research these cases. It just breaks my heart for not only the victim that's out there somewhere, but the family members, because sometimes the family members get lost in these cases. And we always just have to remember that there are families behind these victims. And we do, at least speaking for myself, I always do when I cover these cases, try to do it with the utmost respect. and with the most factual information that I can find, because these families are just going through so much. They don't need any other outside noise to interfere with what they are trying to do. So once again, we'll give you Brenda's information, and this information is from the Charley Project. Brenda Gail Lambert has been missing since July 26, 1992 from Bluefield, West Virginia. She is a white female. She was just 23 years old when she went missing. She will be 55 years old as of 2025. When she went missing, she was 5'2" tall and 110 to 115 pounds, with black hair and blue eyes. Her hair was curly and shoulder length at the time of her disappearance. Her maiden name is Christian. She has a birthmark on the back of her leg and a 1-inch scar on her right wrist. Her ears are pierced. She has dark colored freckles on her shoulder, and her tonsils had been removed. And once again, she was last seen at her residence off of Route 7, which is Windmill Hill Road in Bluefield, on July 26, 1992, at her son's first birthday party. So I do want to also give you the information, and let me get his picture up here. Let me find it. For Mark Anthony Cook, this is Mark Anthony Cook. Mark has been missing since January 14th, 1993 from Bluefield, West Virginia. He is a white male. He was just 24 years old at the time he went missing. He was 5'8" tall, 135 pounds, with brown hair and green eyes, and he may use the first name Tony. He was last known to be wearing a black shirt, a blue denim jacket with a black marker drawing and writing on the back, bleached jeans, black sneakers, and a white baseball cap. Once again, he was last seen walking away from Pedro's Bar at Airport Square in Bluefield, West Virginia at around 3 a.m. on January 14th, 1993. He was heading towards US 52 when he vanished. He has never been seen or heard from again. And once again, this was, he disappeared 5 months after Brenda. Once again, authorities do believe that Mark and Brenda's disappearances are connected and that foul play may have been involved in both cases. Once again, conflicting stories of whether they were dating in some kind of relationship or just friends or just acquaintances. But at any rate, I just wanted to share Mark's information with you. And I think I forgot to give you, so when Brenda went missing, she was last known to be wearing a short-sleeved blue denim shirt, blue denim shorts, and black shoes. So if you have so both cases, both Brenda's case and Mark's case, are currently classified as just endangered missing with foul play suspected. Brenda's DNA and dentals are available for comparison against any human remains that may be found. I don't think that it doesn't say anything about Mark's DNA being in any databases, but it could be. But if you do have any information on either case, Brenda's case or Mark's case, there are a lot of phone numbers. You can contact the Mercer County Sheriff's Office. They have 4 telephone numbers. The first one is 304-487-8364, 304-487-8301, 304-425-2274, and 304-487-8365. So those are the numbers. So guys, you can help bring more awareness to Brenda's case and Mark's case by giving the video a like. Please leave a comment below. The most important thing you can do, though, is share the video anywhere and everywhere you can to all your social media platforms so that Brenda and Mark's faces, their names, their stories stay out there and they are never forgotten. If you would like to learn more about cases such as Brenda's or unsolved homicide cases, please consider subscribing If you would like to help support the channel so we can keep bringing you cases like Brenda's, you can check out the donation links in the About section of the channel, or somewhere down below here, there's a little button that says thanks. So you can just hit that to give a one-time donation for the video. Obviously, donations are never expected, but they are always greatly appreciated. As always, thanks for watching. Have a blessed day, and I will see you next time.